Hey, friends. Welcome to the Weakest One podcast, episode 2. Thank you all so much for chiming in, for tuning in. Glad for you to be here. My name is Jericho Jones. This is Maggie. And this is my friend Travis. We are, chilling here on a Tuesday night. Just wanting to discuss some things that were on our hearts. But yeah, we're just here vibing. So again, this is Travis.
Yeah, Travis Checketts.
Travis Checketts, and we've known each other for
I think it's like 4 years, over 4 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys tell the people a little bit about yourself, whatever you want them to know, and then we can just jump right in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, of course, met Jericho 4 years ago or so through my now wife, and so it's been great. I think when we first met, of course, I was more of just a boyfriend candidate for my wife at the time, and things have gone well. So we've been married for about 3 years now, and we have a home and a daughter. So myself, I grew up in Nebraska originally, and traveled around several states, just kind of working, getting promotions in job, and sometimes that meant moving states to take that new promotion. And then once I got to Indianapolis, like 2016, I decided like I'm done. Like I just need to stop moving. Because it felt like every time I moved, I was having to start over, find new friendships, etc. And it wasn't fun. And especially as an adult, it's hard to make friends.
Yeah.
So having to do that every couple of years, that was really tiring. So I decided Indianapolis was a great place, stayed here, and really did exactly what I wanted, was been able to start a life, create a life that I really wanted, and this is exactly where I want to be right now. So kind of everything led up to right now, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, so you have a general satisfaction about where your life is at right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the factors, some additional factors that contribute to that sense of satisfaction and peace?
I would say that just the being in friendship with other people, being able to have people to talk to when times are hard, because that really helps you get through that time. But then also recognizing when life is good, recognizing that, okay, although I don't have $1 million, I do have more just riches in happiness and friendship than I can count.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't take a whole lot just to be in a good point and satisfactory, happy life.
Yeah. So we're just gonna kind of just go off what we've been talking about. Friendship. What stuck out to me is the theme of friendship and how that supported your sense of satisfaction. A lot of people out there have an idea of friendship that is kind of sometimes basic and shallow and doesn't really transcend into those hard times. So how would you define the type of friendships that have truly held you up in hard times? Like, what do those actually look like and feel like?
Yeah, we've talked about this in like our church small group a little bit, even just very recently. What does that look like? And a lot of that is leaving nothing behind.
Unpack that a little bit.
No secrets, open and honest, because you may need someone to almost give you that punch in the gut sometimes. And if you're not open, if you're holding something back, if there are parts of your life that they don't know about, you're not going to receive that. You're not going to like receive that correction when it really counts. And so you're gonna have that friendship just on the surface level, and you're gonna think, well, man, why haven't things gotten better? Why am I still? Maybe you may feel like in life you're just in a funk and not getting past something, and that can be because you're just not open to those people that are going to be willing to give you that honest feedback. And so, if you're I guess that's the best way I can put it. Like, you've got to be open and just don't leave anything behind, because what is great is when you do have someone that is willing to really tell you when you're wrong. If you're in a argument with your spouse and you feel like you are absolutely right and you just need that vindication, you need someone in your life that can see it from a different perspective, but tell you in a way that matters to you, however that is, when you are wrong, to admit you're wrong, to apologize, to grow up, swallow your pride, whatever that may be. Someone that can tell you those things.
Right on.
So,
the next thing I hear people, let's say I'm someone who's listening to this and I've never heard this before. I can imagine that the next question I would ask is, how do I find people like that? Like, where do I go to find people like that? Like, what is that process look like? Or what can it look like?
I think that's really hard, and honestly, for just men's relationships in general, that's really hard. You can't just find someone at the mall and all of a sudden have a great friendship that's going to last the rest of your life. Like, that may not be realistic, but I think looking in the places where you are at, and also in a place where you want that kind of feedback as well. So if, let's say, your general weekend activity is at the bars or clubs, and that's really where you're out trying to find social connection. You may find that social connection, but then also, are those the people that you want to be in your life, correcting you, knowing your deepest information, that you also want to pour into their life? And maybe that's absolutely, that might be the thing. But if maybe you're spending your time on the weekends at the bars or clubs, but you really want more of a relationship, more Bible-based, Christian-based, from people that have a little bit more just Christian background, that may be found more in a church. So getting plugged into a church and be willing to connect, volunteer, join small group, attend small group, things like that. Like, if you plug into the environment that you want the relationship or the connection from, that's really where you want to be. You're not going to find one in a different place.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is essentially, put yourself in the environment that will produce what you want in your life.
Absolutely. If you're I know you're in an MBA program, and so if you really want to pursue a business field and business background, that's the kind of connection and field that you need to get in. So trying to find ways, networks, groups that support that are filled with other people in business background, that's what you need to find. Versus if you're in, say, something that's more, I don't know, what's different than that, cooking, foodie groups or something. Like, okay, they may be great people, but unless they're owning and running a business or something, they may not provide the kind of input or or value that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can have great friendship with them, but you might not get what you're seeking.
Right.
So trying to find that environment that matches what you're wanting out of it.
Yeah. I have talked with people. I'm not going to say names or give background story or history, because it's probably pretty easy to discern who they are for people who know me pretty well. But a lot of those folks have acknowledged that, like on one hand, yeah, like where I'm going and what I'm doing doesn't really match what I say that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, on the other hand, their response to that is, but what I'm doing here makes me feel better. Like, I feel good. I regret it sometimes, but I feel good. Like, this helps me in this moment. And I think that, like, I think sometimes, like, people really need to re-engage different environments, but also to really figure out where in them wants the thing that doesn't help them.
Right.
Like, they really got to figure out, like, and work with God to really discern where those unhelpful desires are.
Yeah.
Because unless those get really, really dug out and dealt with, any environment is just going to drag you back, like, to the place that you once were. I feel like we're often led by our desires more than we like to admit.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I would say even to that person, like you mentioned, they may feel good where they're at that time, but if they still have desires of being somewhere else, do they really feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Do they, like, are they just feeling like, well, this is the easy thing, this is where I'm at right now, I'm not willing to do the hard thing to make a change, to move out of my comfort zone, and so I'm always still feeling that discomfort. So do you really feel good?
Right.
Or are you just saying that you do? And so I think that's the thing that I would say to that
right.
Individual, like, really consider that. Yeah, maybe what seems great right now, but if you're desiring something else, then you really aren't feeling fulfilled or really good.
Yeah. Right on. Well, there are a couple things that, like, I know that you had on your heart to, like, really dig into and discuss. So you want to throw those out there real quick?
Yeah, I know we talked about kind of what do we want to talk about on this episode, and I thought of a couple of topics and then wanting to kind of weave them together. So one in particular that came up a lot was grit, and then also fatherhood. And so looking at kind of the intersection between those two, or how they overlap and where we see that in the Bible, just grit and fatherhood. And grit in particular, where that word comes from for me. So back in, I would say it was probably 2014 to 2016, I lived in Cleveland, and there was a church that I was attending called Journey Community Church.
Okay.
And so they would have men's night and, like, men's conference called Grit.
Yeah.
And so then there would be, a few times a year, like Grit nights, just the men's night where we would go out and do guy things that we typically do at church. So barbecue, bonfire, there was, like, axe throwing, car smashing, all of that sort of
stuff. Car smashing?
Yeah. Showed up one night, just they had a junk car in the parking lot, and you just gotta hit it with a sledgehammer before we went into just worship and men's preaching. And it was...
You beat up a car and then go praise Jesus.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
They also blocked off the parking lot, built these giant, like, kind of plastic fences with, like, the orange construction fence, and had dodgeball in the parking lot. So just like a men's night of dodgeball. And so I know they were really thinking outside the box, like how can we engage men and then you walk in and on stage they've also got like a beat up car, and what I remember, there was fire on stage. I think they had like the engine out and some kind of like fake fire coming out of the engine, and then they also had like taxidermy. I remember like a large bear on the side of the stage, because I think that was like about the time of like The Revenant. If I remember, it was about that time.
Leonardo DiCaprio getting messed up by that bear.
Yeah,
that's wild. Dude.
Yeah, so it was definitely.
I don't know. That would put me in the heart of working.
It was interesting, and so I mean, they really hit things hard. I appreciated that church. It was great, and I know they continued that theme for a couple of years at least. So, but I had ended up moving to Indianapolis, so I didn't get a chance to experience all of that as much as I wanted. So
yeah.
So, but yeah, that came up, and so I had those two words and really what I wanted to talk about, and so of course I put together some notes. Assisted with artificial intelligence.
Come on.
That was did a really good job pulling together like 10 talking points that I thought was really good, just to talk about like the grit of fatherhood.
Let's get
in the Bible. So the first, looking at the biblical definition of fatherhood.
Okay.
So it says exploring the various roles and responsibilities attributed to fathers in the Old and New Testament.
Okay.
And so mentions themes of provision, protection, instruction, and spiritual leadership.
So this is like so when you say definition, we're talking about like just piecing together themes, like a functional definition of fatherhood, rather than like a literal definition.
Yeah. Okay. I would go with that, because that and it kind of goes into, and I'll talk about some other things, but it can really be a broad definition in some senses, and so I thought that was really interesting. But talking about like providing and instruction, I thought that's such a great thing to consider and remember as fathers. So myself, I don't know if I fully mentioned, but my wife and I are first-time parents. We've got our daughter about to be 17 months like next week. So every day we are learning something new, but it is such sometimes like a really like weight on my shoulders, remembering like, oh man, I'm no longer living for myself, but I'm living for my daughter. The things that I do, she sees. She's picking up on, copying, learning how to live, grow, and be when she sees me. Mm-hmm. And so I've got to be able to provide that teaching to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now we're just looking at how to walk, how to eat, how to talk, things like that. And so if I'm not actively working on those things with her, she may not be picking them up as quickly or as efficiently as she could. She may pick them up naturally, but it's very important to be active with that, to be able to help develop her. So, and I see that just as such an important role in fatherhood.
Yeah, I agree to the extent that when you're talking about all of these elements like provision, protection, teaching, instruction, I kind of boil it down to like, what is really the role of a man in that situation biblically? Because in many respects, like, women can do the same things, right? Women can provide, women can protect, women can instruct. Mm-hmm. And so I always get to thinking of like, but what makes a man different? Not better, not worse. What makes them distinct? Mm-hmm. And it's like, when you look at Adam in the garden and his assignment like he didn't necessarily immediately provide for the animals or the creatures or protect them. What he did was he defined spaces for thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I hear when I hear you talking, your the sum of what you're doing for your daughter is creating a safe space for thriving,
Mm-hmm.
so that she can learn and grow in safety. And as you said, it's like she may be able to like learn these things without you,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like this emotional and engagement in the learning, knowing that like this space has been created for me to thrive here safely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very, very, very important to like to as a summation of like what you're doing, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with like provision and protection, in if you remember from like high school psychology class, we talked about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you remember that pyramid
Right.
thing from psychology class. But I think about that a lot, and just the base of that pyramid was just safety and security. Like your just basic needs,
Right.
and that is so important. Like for us as parents, just to provide, like you said, even that environment. She's in a place where she knows she's safe and she's protected, and so she's not worried about developing safety or protection for herself, so she can then focus on other things.
Right.
She can focus on her own just toddler development, which I think is just so cool to think about. You know, she doesn't have to think about, am I warm? Am I cold? I never have to worry about that. My parents provide things like that for me. Am I provided a comfortable place to sleep? Am I concerned about things outside you? Like, she's never concerned about that. So that base is well taken care of for her, so that way she can progress further, which I think is just so cool to think about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and I know that there are many people out there who may be listening to this conversation right now, wishing that's what they had, wishing that they could understand what that must feel like, because they may have not had that in their life growing up. So changing the culture one child at a time I think is very important.
Yeah, very, very important. Even on that topic, like that's something that my wife had moments where her base, her bottom level of that triangle was compromised.
Right.
Was very challenging to achieve, and you can absolutely tell when you hear her story how just being in basic survival mode is very taxing, even as a child.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hard. And when we talked about the definition of fatherhood, one of the points that I really wanted to go over was, you don't have to be a literal father. You don't have to be blood related to this person to be able to provide all of these things that we can provide as men in a relationship. And so she received so much just love and support and connection from so many older men in her life that looked out for her about the time that she was in high school. And so that was connection through her church in her youth group, primarily, where I guess she nicknamed them the Council of Men, to where because she lost her dad in high school, and so without a father, she was really feeling lost. So these guys really stepped up and provided such a just wonderful life for her, so that way she could thrive on her own. And I told her that I absolutely wanted to name these people, and so
Okay.
but the names I received: Clint, Steve, Chad, Bill, and others.
And others.
And so, at least those top four, Clint, Steve, Chad, Bill, put so much of themselves into her life to mentor, to teach, and provide for her in many cases, that it is 100%, without a doubt, I know, had they not poured into her and I would not be together.
Right.
Her life would not have led her to a place where we would have met, we could be connected, and then our daughter would not have been created. And so it's just so mind-boggling to me to think that when they poured into her well over a decade, probably 2 decades ago, and ongoing, had they ever known the literal life that they would be able to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so incredible for me to think about that, because the hope is then that our daughter can go off and live a great life, connect, and do great things, or create life that then that generation goes off to do something great. But because those people generation ago were willing to father someone that was not their daughter, and provide for her, it's just incredible to think about.
Yeah, man. What about for you? Like, has there been any particular men and or women in your life that have helped either define what fatherhood and or masculinity looks like, or maybe they just turned it upside down? Like, have there been any experiences that you've had like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the household I grew up in, both my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom and dad had a great influence on my life, and one of the things that I remember growing up, just learning about like gender roles in a household. The woman cooks and cleans, and the man provides, things like that. But it didn't make a whole lot of sense because I didn't see that in my house.
Right.
My dad was the one that cooked for
mm-hmm.
us most of the time, and he would do some cleaning as well, and we shared those tasks through the family. I'm sure myself not as willingly as a young child, but
like, dude, growing up, I didn't have a choice, bro. Like, my mama taught me to clean, dude. Yeah. I remember growing up, like, we didn't have a vacuum cleaner, and we had all carpet. And so whenever something would get messed up, you learn how to sweep with a broom on carpet, bro. And it was spick and span, dude. That's like, incredible. Nothing left. Wow. So, like, my standard of, like, clean is, like, above average. Like, college was hard, man.
Yeah.
Because some of these dudes never washed a dish a day in their life. Yeah. And I'm like, no, like, the standard is high, y'all. Like, we can't, like, you use a dish, you clean it, you dry it, you put it away.
I was very thankful I lived on a co-ed floor in college. But there are other all guys floors in other buildings across campus, and you could definitely tell when you got an all guys floor just from the smell. You never, there's never a question. But yeah, very thankful it was co-ed, because we had people like that were willing to call you out.
Absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
Very necessary. So yeah. But no,
in generals, right?
Yeah, with my dad, he cooked, and primarily because just how like the work schedule worked for him.
Right.
He got home first, and so it made sense for him to be able to prepare the meal. So then when my mom got home from work, then we had family dinner, and so it wasn't like just because of a specific gender role that my mom had to do that. And so I'll always remember that it, you do the work that needs to be done because it just needs to be done, not because so and so is assigned that or anything. And
Yeah.
so I think that's very important that we have to remember in fatherhood that we can teach that to our kids.
Yeah. I tend to not believe so much in gender roles, to your point, because like I'm firmly egalitarian biblically, right? So like I believe that when God created man and when God created woman, he created them as equals with no hierarchy. And yet they're distinct. So if I had to put language to it, however rudimentary it is, I would say I believe more in gender designs.
Yeah.
Like, we can all do the same things, we just do those same things differently and distinctly. And so, like, your father, I'm assuming, did the same activity in a different way than how your mother would do it. Just as well, not one better than the other, but like there was a humility associated with that. Like, just because you have an XY chromosome floating around inside you doesn't mean you can't pick up a sponge,
right,
and clean some dishes,
right,
or cook some food. Like, there's a humility in knowing who you are and just serving.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was, I think, a really big part of just growing up, and then even seeing on the extended family. So it was just on my mom's side. My dad's side was out of state, so I didn't get to see them as much. But mom's side got to see grandma, grandpa, and aunts and uncles on that side a few times a year. And so, but what I got to see was really the strength of my grandma. Considerably was very inspiring. So as I was younger, my grandfather was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so as I got older, his health declined, and so his ability to provide, take care of the home, take care of himself, really just waned and just got to a point where he couldn't. He did end up living in a nursing home in town, and so that left my grandma alone to really take care of the home on her own. And there wasn't much that she couldn't do, which was
right.
just very inspiring to see. Like, I remember, like, she did mow the lawn, although some neighbors would do it quite often, but for a while she would also do it herself. She gardened, she took care of the house. I think some of the biggest things, like, my brother and I would do for her is just the seasonal moving, like the space heaters into the cellar and moving the fans up from the cellar, because it was just steep stairs into the cellar. So I always remember doing that twice a year, kind of the changing of the seasons, the different times that we were over there, and so that was interesting. But beyond that, she could do it all, and so I think that was very inspiring. And hearing about her story, growing up, well, I think it was starting in the 20s in rural Nebraska, and there wasn't much going on out there, so she would have to ride a horse into town. They would sell eggs at the local market. That was one of their main incomes. And going back to a home, dirt floor, rural farmhouse. And I remember driving around out there with her years ago and seeing the area and how it's changed quite a bit with paved roads and electricity and things. So very interesting, but also she saved letters and postcards that she would write home from college. And so I went to the same college as her just decades later. the letters that she would write home almost seemed like she was halfway around the world.
Wow.
Like, just to write,
Wow.
like, hey, you know, this is what we're doing, and you know, we miss you, and this is kind of the like the happenings around town, and quite an interesting just story to hear. She was only like 30 miles from home.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't far in what we would think is
Yeah.
30 miles. You know, you could get there super quick, but she had to take a train to college. And so anytime that she visited home, that was a full day journey to get to the train station, wait, take the train, wait, get a ride or horse or someone pick her up to get from the station to the house. And it was a full day journey, so she might as well have been all the way around the
Right.
world. So it was very interesting to read some of those letters. But yeah, there just wasn't much that she couldn't do, and I think that really inspired me too, growing up.
Yeah, right on. Like, are there any specific ways that kind of like really manifests in your life? Are there any moments that, like, in your life where you were going through something and you pulled from that bank of like, grandma did this?
I would say a combination of stuff.
Okay.
Both some of the resiliency from that side of the family, but also a curiosity from my dad's side of the family.
Curiosity.
So my dad, he was in the Air Force and worked on radios on aircraft, and so he knew a little bit about fixing different things and electronics and stuff. So growing up, he would also teach me how to work on certain things. So there wasn't much that we would throw out in the home if it could be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was very interesting, that we would have that kind of experience with just, we didn't throw out much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
We fixed it. And I know that's a perspective, Gen Z. I thought Gen Z came in.
Yeah.
Maybe the cat got out.
No, it's fine.
But the that's really where a lot of that comes from in my life, that I can't stand throwing out something if I think I can fix it.
Yeah, right on.
You know, and that's probably to her dislike quite a bit. I don't know if you remember, we were there outside Josh and Kendall's backyard probably a year ago, and Josh's parents were there. They had bought their kids these little squirt guns, probably 20 cents a piece, but one of them stopped working, and Josh's dad and I were like, oh, we could fix this. Like, so we got out tools and screwdrivers and everything, and we were ready to fix it. But it was just a little squirt gun for 20 cents. But it was just so funny. It's like, oh, this can't be that hard.
Yeah.
But it was funny to think about that. And I definitely got that from my dad's side, that curiosity. Like, yeah, we could probably fix this.
So that combination of curiosity and resilience has really spoken to you throughout your life.
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Well, as we close up, like, what is one thing that you would really want to leave the people in regards to the themes we talked about: fatherhood, resiliency, and curiosity? Like, what's some like summation thoughts?
I would say, like, the biggest thing, like, be ready to do the hard things. And I think that's something that we miss a lot in life in general, and something that I have to tell myself a lot, because I think that's going to come up a lot in parenting, that I'm going to have to be ready to correct, discipline, teach my daughter just different things, how to behave, how to learn in school, how to just do anything, and that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Especially for a daughter. You know, she's already got us wrapped around her finger. Like, when she cries or whines or wants something, it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be really hard for us later in life, but we just got to be ready to do those hard things.
Yeah. Right on. That's a really good ending. I think moving forward, I'm going to start ending podcasts in this way of like, you know, what is an area of like weakness that we have in the framework of like masculinity and manhood that like the Lord's like Christ is breathing life into, like what weaknesses can we confess before him, so that his power lives in us. So being ready to do the hard things, like sometimes we're not ready. And self-awareness of like I'm either not equipped or like I really don't want to, and I want to but I don't want to. So like where is that coming from?
Absolutely.
Well, right on, Travis.
Cool.
I really appreciate you spending the time. I know that it's a busy night. Again, you're a father. Your kids got a nighttime schedule, so I know it's a sacrifice, and I really appreciate you.
Not a problem. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
All right, y'all. Y'all take care.
All right. Later.
We'll see you next time. Bye.